Hello, everyone. Welcome to a whole new podcast series by Gan.ai. We'll explore the strategies, tactics, and most importantly, the stories behind some of the most successful campaigns with the people who led them. This is an opportunity for all of us to uncover and learn what it takes to build exceptional brands. Thanks for tuning in, and let's get started.
All right.
In the grand scheme of things.
Welcome to another episode of In the Brand Scheme of Things. Today, we're thrilled to have Jordan West, an e-commerce investor, CEO, CMO, and the dynamic host of the Secrets to Scaling Your E-commerce Brand podcast. From buying and running a restaurant in his early 20s, to propelling his wife's baby clothing line into multi-million-dollar enterprise through savvy marketing, Jordan is a seasoned entrepreneur who has done it all. As the co-owner of multiple direct-to-consumer brands and founder of upGrowth Commerce, he brings a wealth of experience in scaling D2C businesses. Join us as he unpacks the secrets behind his e-commerce success, offering valuable lessons in this ever-evolving landscape. Please welcome Jordan West. Hey Jordan, how's it going?
Hey, great to get to have a conversation with you. I'm looking forward to diving in, hopefully bringing a bit of value to your audience, and looking forward to this convo.
Likewise, very excited to have you on board. Thank you so much for doing this. Let's just start with getting to know you better. Why don't you share a little bit of background about yourself and your journey in the D2C space?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started in direct to consumer in about 2015. It was like 2014, 2015, somewhere in there. My wife had an Etsy store for a long time. She was doing like hair fascinators. We started, at the time we actually owned a restaurant, which was just the worst. Like, I mean, I loved it. It was a great experience, but like, it was very difficult owning a restaurant. And so during that time we had our first kid, and my wife, was searching all over for leggings that would actually go over top of cloth diapers, right? So she wanted these leggings that just needed a little bit more, and she couldn't find them anywhere. And so she was a fashion designer. She's like, oh, this is easy. I'll just make some. So she made some, and then people started asking about them, like, oh, can I get those leggings? Like, I'd love to have those. And then that just kind of ballooned into our first company. And we like stumbled upon Shopify at the time, which was not the obvious choice at the time, just so everybody knows. It wasn't the kind of behemoth that it is now. It wasn't, it didn't have its live totals streaming on the Sphere at the time. Not that the Sphere was around, but it wasn't that obvious choice then. And so we were so lucky that we actually got in there. And then we started Facebook advertising and just figuring it out. And guys, at that point, it was just so easy. Everything was so easy. It was like, oh, throw an image up. Perfect. We got sales. A little different now. So we went from there. We bought a few companies along the way, made some mistakes, started an agency in the meantime as well that sort of put all of this together. And I've just been obsessed with the direct to consumer space and people building really cool companies. At one point, one of my tagline that I was going to have for myself is that my goal in life is to help you get so many Shopify notifications that you want to turn that ding off on your phone. So that's what I'm obsessed with.
Oh, wow. And I'm sure it was a lot more inexpensive back then as well, right? Just like you said, it was so easy. It must be like so much inexpensive to get like a lead from Facebook, etc. back in the day.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it wasn't just getting the leads that were cheap, right? The CPMs, like the cost per thousand impressions was so low, but it wasn't just the CPMs that were so low. It was the CPAs on everything. I mean, it was the heyday. And I don't think any of us realized that, those good times were not going to last forever.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And now that the market is so crowded, Jordan, how do you go about picking a winning product? I see like so many products and then so much competition across every subcategory. Like, how do you go about figuring out what you want to do and how do you pick a winning product today?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I'm always looking for blue ocean, right? So when I'm thinking about direct to consumer products, I'm not sure exactly who listens to this, but if you already have a company, really making sure that you're sticking to your vision, right? Like sticking to the vision of your company. That's really important. Not just, throwing extra products in just because you can, right? Making sure that they actually stick to what your mission and vision as a company is. So starting there first is really important, right? Starting at that foundational level of like, hey, we don't just sell stuff for the sake of selling stuff. We sell stuff to solve this specific problem. That's where I really really start, first of all. And then there's a couple other principles when I'm looking at products that, to sell. They have to have at least 80% retail margins. They don't have that, then we cannot advertise enough. We can't, offer money back guarantees. All of these things that need to happen to actually have a successful company, we can't do if our margins aren't high enough to start.
Absolutely. And then, there's a whole bunch of people starting multiple brands, like calling it house of brands, because they can do it. Now that they've cracked one product, they feel that just adding more products is like the most ideal way to go about, like scaling up your revenue, scaling up your portfolio, etc. And I think most of them compromise on the quality of the product because like they are like experts in marketing, not necessarily experts in building the product. Like, do you think it's a smart strategy, or do you think it's just, like boiling the ocean and hoping that some of those products will probably start doing well?
It really depends what you're into, right? Like I've never been like a big drop shipper that just kind of goes and picks products. When I'm looking at a product to offer, right, of something that we're offering, I want to make sure that it's unique in the marketplace in some sort of way, right? Whether that's, competing on price. I don't like to do that, but that is, one strategy. But really making sure that whatever products that we're choosing for our brand are actually, and I don't like to say store because it's really a matter of brand, right? People don't just go and buy products anymore. That's not like go to Amazon and go buy a product. If your audience is, mainly Amazon, that's great. You sell products. You're not a brand. Right? Like there's a big difference between those two things. And being a brand, you can sell a lot more products down the road, right? Yeah. You can start with a single product and then you can start to sell more products down the road. When you come at it from the product standpoint first, right? Then you will choose bad products, right? It's just going to happen rather than starting with brand and figuring out, who am I serving? What do they actually want right now? Am I just giving them another piece of junk? No, I'm actually helping them with something interesting in their life, and trying to solve that problem. That's where I come, from this at it. And I don't want to sell anything that's garbage. I just don't want to sell anything like that's garbage. I think that's one of the big things is like, there's incredible marketers out there who like, I've seen their ads and I'm like there was like this rat catcher at one point and I'm like, wow, that is like the best. Like this thing looks amazing. And it comes and it's like a little piece of plastic that goes like this. I'm like, exactly. Oh, okay. I see. I know what you were doing there. Like that. I'm not into that. That's arbitrage. Sure. You can get rich for a little bit. Is that the life you want to live? Is that the legacy you want to live? I don't.
Absolutely. No, that makes complete sense. So, if I'm starting a D2C brand, for example, today, what should my marketing roadmap look like? What would your advice to me be when it comes to marketing?
Well, my very first thing that I would do is get that product into the hands of either influential people or actual influencers, right? Just doing strategic gifting to those influencers with wanting nothing in return. That is going to be the cheapest bang for your buck. And if it's a product that actually resonates with them, right, then at that point, you can now start to ask for rights to some of the content that they create, right? You're not giving it to them to create content, but the law of reciprocity is so strong that, out of say 300 people that you send products to, probably about 100 to 150 of them will post for you. It's just going to happen. I get sent products all the time and I'm not really an influencer. And I get sent products all the time and I'll still post about them. And that's great. Thank you everyone who does that. I love getting, free product in the mail. I got some interesting stuff lately. Somebody sent me some shrooms lately in the mail. I was like, oh, okay. I'm at that stage now. Okay. All right, cool.
Hope you enjoyed the shroom strip after that.
I have not partaken yet. It's a micro dose. So I'm sure it won't be anything life-changing, but I have not had them yet. So
okay, interesting. And I completely agree. I think influencer partnership is the way to go. I think for a young brand, getting like anything beyond the first year influencers is relatively more difficult. How much of it do you think can just organic do? I think you did touch upon that, but let's go a little deeper into influencer partnerships. Like, what kind of budget should you keep for what kind of reach, when it comes to influencer marketing, and then how much of it can really be achieved through like just a plain cold prospecting into influencers without really adding any budgets to it? And what is the right number when it comes to organic, and what is the right number of budget that a startup should keep for paid influencer partnerships? Like any rough
Totally.
idea there?
Yeah, really, really good question. So really depending on what kind of budget you have. But so what I would start with is the strategic giving, right? Then what you're going to find is people are going to be posting, and you're going to see, probably, the 80-20 rule is just so, like, it's just there all the time, right? So we send out to 300 influencers, probably 20% of those influencers are going to create something that's pretty decent, right? So it's just playing the numbers. So, 20% of that is 60 people. So you're going to have 60 influencers that are going to create some pretty good stuff. The next step then is to reach back out to them and say, hey, loved the content. We've actually got a performance affiliate, a performance influencer program at our brand, and we would love for you to be a part of it. We pay out whatever it is, 15%. Of any sales that you bring in. That is the very first place that I would start, right? The very first place is just going straight to performance influencers. That is where you can just make a massive amount of traction and money. And then you've also got TikTok shops. And that's what is happening on TikTok shops, right? Is that it's this matchmaking made in heaven. Unfortunately, it's only in a few different places, like the States is one of them. But it's this incredible way to be able to get only performance influencers working for you. There's something really, really special about not having to pay and hope, but rather just paying a percentage. So it's kind of a non-answer, because your budget is how much do you want to sell, because it's just going to be based on a percentage. And so it's really more of a matter of time at the beginning, right? You're trading time for money rather than trading money for more money as you start to then get into paid ads and all of these different things. But I wouldn't even touch paid ads until I've sort of nailed my branding, getting some influencers on board. That'll get you a bunch of great content that you can then use for ads. My suggestion is, like, think about around $10,000 of product, as well as, influencer spend as well, right? Because you're going to be sending that out to them. There's the shipping costs there, all of that kind of stuff. So that's where I would start. Just get the seeding going, though, as soon as you can.
And what do you think about some strategic partnerships? For example, let's say I have a product that helps calm your mind. I go to some psychologists, I go to some therapists, and I probably either give them some free samples, or have a partnership of sorts where I tell them that, hey, why don't you encourage my product to your customers, your patients, etc. Like, is that like a thing you'd recommend to people, like some strategic partnerships? That I have a sports drink, I recommend, I give it out to coaches who further recommend my sports drink to their students, etc. Like, is that a thing that you've seen people do? It's very common in gym, for example. You'll see gym trainers recommending protein powders. Like, is that a thing across categories? Is that a smart way to start?
It's a really great way to do it, right? The whole idea is that what you're trying to do is really leverage other people's influence, right? So, that's a great example of not a common influencer that you would then go reach out to, right? Yeah. Those kinds of people, they don't really get reached out to a ton either. Think about, one of the brands that I own is in the baby space. Well, who are we leveraging that happens to have the customers that we want, right? Well, it's daycares. So we give daycares affiliate deals. We give schools, elementary schools, fundraiser affiliate deals, right? Like, all of these different ideas where you can go and you can start to leverage people's relationships that they already have and give them something of value, right? So for schools are doing fundraisers, these parent advisory committees, they're doing fundraisers all the time. So why wouldn't we just step in and try and help them out with that? Right? It's those kinds of things that really thinking outside of the box and thinking outside of the classic, influencer sort of, oh, I'm just going to get Jessica who, takes nice photos to take some photos for me. That's interesting, but not as interesting as starting to look and see who else has influence and who else you want to partner with.
Excellent. No, great advice there. And, now that, I have some influencer marketing experience and, I plan to spend some money on some paid ads, etc. Is there a hack that an early stage founder can use to reduce the CPM or the CPC somehow, just reduce the cost per mile, in a way that is kind of hacky, gets the job done. Maybe I can, spend some more hours to kind of get there, but probably, reduce my cost, because as an early stage D2C founder, I'm just looking to save costs everywhere, but I still want to experiment all the channels. Is there a hack that has been working out for you and your network?
Yeah, absolutely. So a great hack. So every hack, that we talk about is really built around what the algorithm and what the platform and what people actually want. Right. So the platform wants engagement. They want engagement. They want to show ads that people actually want to see. Right. They want a great user experience. So think about that when you're thinking about like hacks, right? It's like, well, hey, what does Facebook or Instagram want to see on paid ads? Well, they want to see engagement. How do we get engagement? Well, number one, we can ask questions. Number two, we could potentially do a giveaway post, right? We could have a giveaway that's run as an ad. Highly engaging. We can ask for people's opinion. We can say, this or that, right? It needs to be like the hack is just really good marketing at the end of the day, right? It's inviting people into a conversation. It's on TikTok. You want lower CPMs, have a massive view through rate, right? So tease something at the beginning of your video that you're going to show them at the end. That's going to get you low CPMs, right? It's all about that watch time. That's what TikTok is trying to do. And really at the end of the day, that's what Instagram is trying to do too, right? Like they're just trying to keep people on platform as long as possible. So think about that in your marketing, right? That's where you need to be, is keeping people on the platform and on your ad as long as possible to be able to then show them what you actually do.
Excellent. And since you're talking about TikTok and Instagram, I think, and videos at large, like how important do you think videos have become as a mode of communication? I think if you talk about things 5 years before now, I think people were just sending text communication. They were sending handwritten notes, to their customers, thanking them to participate in their sale, thanking them to be their first customer, etc., etc. Like how important do you think videos have become? Do you see founders recording themselves, sending out videos of themselves to their customers? Have founders become the face of their brands, especially early stage? How do you think all of that evolving right now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So yes, 100% founder videos to their audience is essential. Having a face of the company is also essential. I mean, I can think of like very few companies who don't have a very strong founder CEO presence that are actually being successful. Now, sure, you can sell products over on Amazon. That's fine. Go do that. That's a little different. What I'm talking about here is building real brands, right? That will be able to stand the test of time. And video is absolutely essential, right? We know that even like all the algorithms are just leaning towards video, but not just video for the sake of video. I see a lot of people doing that, especially on Instagram. It's like, oh, we're just going to add some music behind here and animate it, right? That's not video. That's not what this is about. Video, it's this incredible way to be able to communicate so much more than you can just through an image, right? If an image says 1,000 words, right, a video says 10 trillion words, right? Like you can communicate so much more through a video, but you have to actually know how to use these videos, right? And what to do with these videos and some of the buyer psychology behind what to do with the video before that. We have a lot of clients at upGrowth Commerce who actually do better with image ads. So are we going to push video super strong? No, we're going to continue to do what we're doing with image ads, and that's okay, right? We're going to do whatever works. But yes, testing, really strong video is absolutely essential.
Yeah. Well, that's a very strong point that, just don't do videos for the sake of doing videos. Do videos where you bring yourself out as a founder, record yourself, record meaningful emotional messages probably that connect with your audience, and you mean what you say in that video. In fact, so Gan.ai, shameless plug, is actually helping founders send personalized videos at scale. So just for you to know, what we do is
Cool.
One video which says, "Hi Anupreet, thank you for purchasing these socks." And let's say you sell socks and you sell shoes and you sell perfumes, for example. You can actually change that one video to say, "Hi Jordan, thank you for purchasing shoes. Hey Adam, thank you for purchasing perfume." So you can actually change words in the video in your voice with your lip sync and make them believe that you actually recorded each one of them, and automate this through your e-commerce and your marketing communication cloud, so that it all is going out automatically. So for every single customer, they feel like the founder is taking the time to really just send an MMS personally to every single buyer who's purchasing the product. And you can use it for so many ways in like different stages of the buyer's journey to just keep them engaged. What are the ways in which you've seen people engaging their customers across, the buyer's journey? From the time there's an abandoned cart to, let's say, if they've launched a new product, cross-selling products, like what are different ways in which you've seen customers engage with people on different steps of their buyer's journey?
Yeah, great question. So we used to actually do something like this years ago, manually before AI could do stuff like this, and there was great products like yours out there. We actually did all of this manually. So we would use Bonjoro, which was a video messaging platform, and we would actually they had a sync with Shopify. So anytime a new customer would come in, we would have a team member actually reach out and say, "Hey, thanks so much for purchasing for the first time. You're going to absolutely love these." But we did it manually. So now having AI products out there is just phenomenal because it's not as though the sentiment is still there, right? It's all still there. But doing this at scale was we had to stop. I mean, our team was just getting burnt out. It was just too many videos, but it was such a beautiful thing that we were able to do for our customers, and they really resonated with that personalized video. And so being able to do something like that is absolutely essential. I would just say the more touch points, the better, right? The more places that you're actually able to have a good discussion with your customer. So VIP groups, really, really important. If you've got an app, if you've got anywhere that has two-way communication, I think is really important to actually listen to your customer, not just spew at your customer, actually listen to them and be able to see what they want and just have your finger on the pulse. I think that's one of the most important things.
Absolutely. No, true. I totally agree. I think, and you using video like back in the day is amazing. I mean, it just shows how up to date you are with technology. I mean, next question is slightly tricky. Like I personally could never really prioritize between, re-engaging dormant users or redirecting, abandoned carts or just cross-selling and, reselling. I know everything is important, but like, what do you think is a no-brainer? I see like so many times that there's an abandoned cart, but no one is engaging it. Or if I purchase product A, no one is cross-selling or upselling product B to me. Or if I don't log in or don't purchase something for a while, I just go dormant and no one is engaging with me. So the question that I have for you is like, what do you think is the most important thing? How would you rank re-engaging dormant users, resurrecting abandoned carts, and upselling, cross-selling into like prioritization? If you could do only one thing, what is it that you would absolutely do?
Yeah, I would first start with those abandoned checkouts, right? And figure out why people aren't actually checking out. I would go as far as calling them and being like, hey, was there something wrong on the website? Like you got all the way to checkout, not abandon their cart, but got all the way to checkout and stopped. Why? What happened in between there? Was there a shipping thing? I'd figure that out because there's probably a massive amount of data in there, right? And so I'd reach out, like first maybe text message them, right? You can manually text message anyone who's put their number in. You don't need permission. You just text message them and ask them, hey, what was the reason? This is like the owner. I just want to know what's going on. I would start with that. You could even, give them a phone call. And then I would start to look and try and get those second purchases. Those second purchases are going to come because you have a great product, right? Not because you use a marketing hack. They're going to come because you got a great product and you got a great brand. So it's all about building up that product offering and the brand offering.
So I think what I also wanted to know from you, Jordan, was lifetime value versus increasing the total number of customers. Now, now that you've ranked campaigns for me, like what do you think between lifetime value and increasing the total number of customers should be a priority for an early stage founder?
Yeah, I think that increasing lifetime value, again, it goes to product, right? It goes to product, it goes to quality, it goes to all of those things. You can nudge people, right? And I think that nudging people with, personalized videos, right? What a great way to nudge people. Using a service like Postpilot to nudge people, right? These postcards that come in their mail to remind them. All of these different touch points. This is how you then focus on customer lifetime value. It's not an either or in my mind. You need to be continually bringing new customers in. One of the companies that we have, our returning customer rate is 70%, right? So I'm fighting to get new customers in constantly, right? But we have a great returning customer rate and a customer lifetime value of just over $500. Wonderful, but not wonderful if we don't get new customers in constantly. So it's a real balance. It is not a dichotomy. It's not an either or. It's a both at the same time. You really need to be focusing on both of those things to continue to grow, because one without the other, right? You like eventually, customer acquisition cost on these platforms is going to outstrip your customer lifetime value. And we need to figure out how to then lower that customer acquisition cost or higher that customer lifetime value. But, like a product like yours, I mean, this is the way to do it, right? This is the way to like send a nice video to somebody who hasn't purchased in, 3 months, or depending on figuring out exactly when those triggers are, I think is important as well. But again, they're just nudges, right? There's nothing that we can do marketing wise that's going to force somebody to buy a second time. They know your product has to be good. If your product isn't good or doesn't solve a problem for them, they're not going to come back.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And now let's say the product is good and this is working out well. I still want to increase my lifetime value further because people typically buy only once in 3 months, and they're good for 3 months when they buy my product. Now, adding more products, is this the right time to do that when the first product is performing really well and you're getting you've kind of maxed out the lifetime value from each customer on that product? Is this a good and smart time to introduce the second product to the mix and hope people to, buy that product and then take the overall lifetime value of the brand even higher?
Yeah, as long as the product makes sense, right? So I'm thinking about, our friends over at Hush Blankets. So they first started with weighted blankets, right? And then they added pillows, and then they added mattresses, and they added these things that made sense, right? It made sense. They were serving a very similar need, right? So similarly for, our baby clothing company, we start with baby leggings, and then we move on to baby tops and onesies, and all of these things that are serving a similar purpose, not moving from, baby leggings into mom's dresses, right? That's too big of a jump. That doesn't make sense. Now, eventually we added mom's dresses when we had baby dresses, and then moms wanted to match, but we didn't do that right away, right? So I think that's the important thing when you're looking at all of this.
Interesting. And within that product, if it is making sense and it's working out, like how important is innovation? And do you see founders spending enough time on innovation of that product? Or do you think if it's working out well, just don't touch it, just let it be? Just over-indexing on innovation might just do more harm than good.
I think most founders under-index on innovation. It's like they think they've innovated once and that's just it, right? Rather than product being a huge part of, it's one of the biggest parts of your business, right? Your product that people want. And so there's the mentality of like, hey, if it's not broke, don't fix it. That's good. But there's also always innovation that can be done with these products. It's looking at your reviews. It's looking at your competitor reviews, right? That's where Amazon is really great for, especially using ChatGPT to scrape these Amazon reviews, right? Then you can take those Amazon reviews and actually figure out, hey, what do people want out of this particular product? Especially if it's a competitor and people are like, oh, I just wish it had this. Oh, I'm giving it a 4 stars because I wish it had this. Awesome. I can see that there's need out in the market. I'm going to make a product, tweak it a little bit that is like that product that people want. That's where you get blue ocean, right? And then you're not compared to anybody, and you can charge a lot more when you have no competition, right? That's what constantly, that's what we're trying to do is how do we get out of competing with anybody? Like at upGrowth Commerce, I'm like, we are making a very unique value prop that is outside of what other agencies are. That's why we say agencies suck, right? Because we're like, well, we're not the typical agency. And I know a lot of people have, played that out, but really it's finding where that blue ocean is and then staying there, right? You don't want to be in a red ocean where you're just competing, with price and you're going to eventually get knocked down to the lowest common denominator. That's not what we're into.
Absolutely. I think great point. I think with innovation is how you can probably reach that. And when it comes to marketing channels, I know TikTok is taking over like a storm, but then is Facebook still relevant? Do you still look at Facebook? And when I say Facebook, I mean the Facebook app and not Meta at large. Like, is Facebook still relevant in the world of Instagram Shorts and TikTok and YouTube?
Totally. Facebook is still a place that a ton of conversions happen on, even organically, right? So Facebook still has a ton of users on it. It has actually more affluent users on it, right? So people who are actually spending money, a lot of them are over on Facebook. Millennials still spend a lot of time over on Facebook. And as millennials, we are the ones who have the money right now, right? We're the ones who not just have the money, we're in spending mode, right? We're the ones that are, we have kids, we have all these things and we're spending. We're still on Facebook. There's communities that are still over on Facebook. I think Facebook groups is the best thing Facebook ever did because it keeps people over there. That's the main reason you go over onto Facebook, is to be part of your groups, right? That you're part of. And you don't have that same thing over on Instagram or over on TikTok, right? It's a lot. Facebook groups is that back and forth, right? Every other platform is really like anonymous, like I'll post my video and then anonymous people will tell me I suck. And that's not community, right? That's just people like, and their insecurities coming out on different platforms. That's why I think Facebook, there's still a great place for it in the world.
That's interesting. And that leads me to another question, that would the group admins of Facebook be another influencer category that you'd want to target? Is that something interesting? And are people doing that?
Yeah. Well, are people doing it? I don't think so. I don't think at large people are doing it. It's one of those actually kind of submarine tactics that we've used for a long time, especially in the baby space, right? It's like we reach out to the admins like, hey, we've got a great product that we think that your audience would love. We'd love to offer you 15% for anybody who uses your link, right? Like, awesome. They have 50,000 people in their group. Why would they not? And then also what we do, we go even farther than that. We actually give them templates of things to post so that it looks natural. And we just make it so ridiculously easy for them to post, because Facebook group admins are not natural like influencers, yet they probably have more influence than most of us do.
Yes.
Right? That was 50,000 people in a group. I would way rather have them than 50,000 Instagram followers somebody's posting for. Right? Like it's a different, these groups have just immense power.
Interesting. Very interesting. And like, let's talk about mistakes that you see people make often. So in the early stage D2C brand game, what are the mistakes that you see founders make, and how can people avoid that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest mistake is trying to do too many things at once, not just sticking to a plan. I think that I would say planning and actually sticking to your plan is probably the biggest issue that I see. Entrepreneurs are naturally, the great thing about entrepreneurs is that they have a million ideas at the same time. And the worst thing about entrepreneurs is that they have a million ideas at the same time, right? It's like, it's this double-edged sword where you're like, oh, I can go do this. I can go do this. Oh, I've kind of solved this one problem. Oh, I'm now going to go over here and do this, right? If you don't keep the main thing, you're going to fail. And I've done it. I failed many, many times. And I think I finally learned my lesson when it comes to this. I find that the entrepreneurial operating system, EOS, is an incredible way to keep people on the same page, right? It actually allows, like anytime somebody comes to me with a problem, I'm like, well, let's first lay this out in EOS, right? What are the rocks that we're looking at? What are the issues that we have? What are our 1, 5, and 10-year goals? So we can actually understand what that is, because if we actually understood that, if we understood that our rocks, like the big things that we need to accomplish this quarter, are A, B, and C, and I'm bringing you ideas E, F, G, H, you're going to be like, hey, those are awesome. Why don't we throw those on rocks ideas for next quarter? But this quarter, this is what we're doing, right? And that really helps entrepreneurs just like, oh yeah, okay. It sort of takes away shiny object syndrome.
Love it. I think that applies across industries beyond D2C as well. I see, founders getting distracted all the time, and you rightly laid it out. That's because like founders have a million ideas, and that's both good and bad. And so they should just stay laser focused on what's working out. No, that's amazing. I think I'll finish this conversation with the talk of the town, which is generative AI. Like, how do you see brands use generative AI today? Are they using that enough? Do you think it's of value to this industry? I love asking this question to everyone, but like, what is the impact of generative AI in the D2C space at large, and how are you and the brands that you work with, leveraging it, if at all?
Yeah. Oh, leveraging it constantly. I mean, I use generative AI like for everything, right? Yeah. So it's funny. Like I used to preface, oh, hey, by the way, I use ChatGPT to help me out with this. And it's like, well, no, I mean, of course, everyone's using ChatGPT to help them out with everything. I think that one of the unsung heroes of generative AI is a few different things. And these are going to kind of be a little bit funny. Number one, legal, right? You want legal advice? Put a contract into ChatGPT and just start asking questions, or whatever generative AI platform you want to use. Just start asking questions and figure out like what's going on with this. Anytime that I've looked at a contract and I'm like, I should throw this by my lawyer, I'm like, actually, I can ask. There's a bunch of questions I want to ask, and ChatGPT can just spit them out at me. Those are really great ways. Data analytics, just phenomenal, right? Iterating on ideas, phenomenal. A world-class copywriter, maybe, depending on what you give it and how you tell it to do and what you've built into it, then yes, right? If your prompt is good enough, then yes, great world-class copywriter. I still prefer, like for my personal brand, I still write everything myself. If I use ChatGPT for anything, it's just to add emojis because that takes a while, and I love having emojis and stuff. That's about it. Like we use it to generate ideas, and then the human takes it kind of from there, right? But if you don't know what you're doing and then you're using generative AI, it's not going to work for you. It's not going to work for you because you don't know what good and bad is, right? You don't know. If you don't get it, then it's really hard. You're just telling a robot now who doesn't get it, you know? So that's kind of where I come at that with.
Absolutely. That's that, Jordan. Thank you so much for spending time with us and our audience today. I think this was a mini MBA on, on D2C. I hope founders who listen to this find great value. And I absolutely love this conversation. Thank you so much for doing this on a busy day.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Good day.